Welcome to another awesome episode of In My Sister's Garden. I am your host, Amanda Sun, and today my very special guest is I am the Real Mambo. Okay, let's get into it. I just want to give everybody a little background on how we met and everything like that. So, my wife Elise and I were at the Dallas Reggae Fest, and we were leaving. And as we're leaving, we see this gorgeous beauty, and we're like, "Oh my God!" Like what? What? Like you literally stopped us in our tracks because we were just blown away by just your presence. Like your energy was everything. It was just like so chill. But then on top of that, like what,
Oh,
girl, girl? And
thank you.
I had to be like, let me take your picture at least. Let me take your picture. So we got this gorgeous picture of
It
you.
was a gorgeous picture. I think for me, I'm like I have such bad body dysmorphia where I get nervous about.
Oh,
So that's why I was like, oh, I felt so awkward, but it was so nice. You guys' energy was just instantly so radiant. Like as soon as like we started talking, so
mm-hmm.
so that was awesome.
Oh, that's good. And I was like in love with your locks. I'm like, well, how long did it take people to do your hair? You like, girl, I've been growing this for years.
Yes,
It's been
yes.
growing for years. I'm like, oh man. So I've been seeing so many women with different forms of locks. And so I
Mhm.
just locked my hair. It's in its tiny phase, but
Oh, congratulations!
thank you,
Welcome
thank
to
you,
the
thank
family.
you,
Do
thank
you like
you.
it so far, or
I
how are you?
do. I
Okay.
do actually. I like look in the mirror and I even see some that go this way or this way. And I'm like, I think
Yeah,
that's cute though.
they all have their own like personalities. Like
Yeah.
all of my friends always say like there's certain ones that do certain things. I'm like, yeah, they have personality for
Yeah,
real.
they do. They do. I had
So
one that just like stuck up and I kept trying to like put it down and it was like, girl,
exactly.
I'm
Yes.
out here today. Yeah.
Yes. It drives it.
Yeah.
It's awesome because down the road, like you know it's gonna be great. Like you're not gonna
Mhm.
have to worry about it so much. And then it's just beautiful because you get to see the character in all of them.
Mhm.
But yeah, the beginning stages definitely is like, okay, like please,
Okay.
please. So yeah.
Please get it together.
Yeah,
Please do something with yourself.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So Ah, if for those of you who do not know, I am the real Mambo is pure magic. That's the way I describe you to everybody. When I send your page to all my friends and stuff, I'm like, just follow her. Just follow her. You'll love everything she's talking about, I promise. And I love the different ways that you express like image positivity. Like I just saw several posts like throughout the time that I met you, you expressing how the most one of the most beautiful pieces of art that you can ever see is our bodies.
Yes.
And I don't think we talk about that enough, just embracing like our natural like way of viewing ourselves. And if we want to be free, love yourself fully naked and just
Mhm.
like not feel shame about it and just embracing that. So can you tell everybody a little bit more about that?
Okay, so well, when I was 18, I
Mm-hmm.
had started I was an exotic dancer or stripper, whichever works better. And I know growing up I had like a lot of body issues because I was born kind of more developed, like I have curves and a butt. And growing up, it was like my mom and my family would always be very big on like, oh, you can't wear certain things. You shouldn't do this and do that. And it was, out of protection from like the male gaze as like a young girl. But it was just like it kind of hurt at the same time because it's like, wow, like it just feels like I can't be proud of my body.
Mm-hmm.
And during the process of me being a stripper for that time, um, from 18 to 25, I just started realizing like there was like a kind of freedom to it in a sense. Like just being able to do more things in the nude. And then like you start to discover going through that journey, like the difference between provocative and then like doing it in a like a beauty form. Like I've seen plenty different, you could always see a difference between something that was tastefully done, like, the people that have been nude, like Sabrina Claudio. I don't know if you know who she is, but I
Yeah.
love watching a lot of her videos. She's like in the nude, and then you see like other like artists, and like not to shame anyone, but yeah, like you get to see different forms. And I think a lot of people fail to to remember that, you know, ultimately we are so different. Our physiques are so different. Even if you're trying to work out to be like somebody else, it's never going to truly be like that. So like there's a kind of art to the body. So, and then I also was in Europe, and you get to see a lot more of that, like at the nude beaches and stuff. Like they really value that, versus in America, even back in like history, you can see that it was kind of like shamed to be.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's, it's just something that I grew to like love, like to see that. And then being in the gym now, you get to see the different forms of art there too. So yeah, I just think I wish more people would view it in that light, instead of always just viewing it as like, you know, as bad, or like you should be ashamed, you know? So
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, I feel you on that. I definitely feel you on that because I'm like learning to love this more. And
Mm.
like lately I've been able to like I walk past the mirror, I'm like, "Oh girl,
Yeah.
you better quit playing."
Yeah.
So, like,
I
how was
wish
that
more people seen that.
experience?
So
Yeah, but how was that experience for you when you went to Europe and you went to the nude beach and you were able to just kind of be?
it was weird at first, obviously, because like
Mhm,
you know, this was before I had started dancing. So like
mhm,
seeing it is kind of what inspired me to be like, like I should, like, you know, I should do that, you know, and I didn't want to, college wasn't for me at that time. So I was like, what's like another way that I could kind of express myself in that way, and then still being able to travel and get to see things and do things. So that was the way to do it. So when I was there, I was like, okay, so it's not really that big of a deal. And then when I came to back to America, and then like started working in it, I was like, wow, this gives me the freedom to kind of do what I want to do, to travel more, to go to like Switzerland and Spain and Thailand. So yeah, it helped a lot. Like
that's
seeing,
pretty cool.
yeah, I'm
That's
thankful.
pretty cool. That's like that sounds like a beautiful experience. And I used to think like I would never go to a nude beach, but
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, honestly, I encourage people to at least try to do something different. You know, get out of your comfort zone at least once a week. You know, it doesn't
Mhm.
have to be that. You don't have to jump to there, but at least start sleeping naked or something. Do something like that. You know,
Something different. You're right.
yeah, exactly.
I like how you say get comfortable because a lot of people are really uncomfortable in their skin. They're
Yeah.
really uncomfortable with the way that they look. They're uncomfortable, but that's just based off of how the world makes us feel and view ourselves. A
Hmm.
lot of the time, it's like shame to feel good about our bodies and how different they are, you know?
Yep.
And I appreciate you saying that. I know some other listeners are going to appreciate you saying that because it takes away the, oh, my body has to look like theirs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before you, yeah, before you
Because
do it,
yeah,
just
I've seen a lot of people say like they go to the gym, they want their body to look that way. But like you said, it's, probably
it,
never going to look exactly like that other person's,
exactly.
you
Yep.
know? So you got to
Yep.
love your form. Got to love your form.
And each step, like in each phase of it. Like when
Hmm.
I got pregnant with my daughter, and I was 245 pounds, which was a lot for me at that time. I was like, I had to learn how to love that version of me, and then the version
Hmm.
of breastfeeding, and then the version of me, you know what I'm saying? Like each version you have to learn to love. So I think
Absolutely.
that's the biggest thing. You could have goals, but like love yourself in each step of the way that you're
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. So jumping into one of my favorite topics, because I am a reader myself.
Mhm.
I consider myself to be a little bit of like a somewhat of a spiritual guide for some people.
Mhm.
Um, but I see you do this like frequently. Like this is a part of really who you are, and it's something you've been able to craft. And like you get these amazing reviews from people because it actually works what you do.
Mhm.
And I wanted to ask you, like, how did you get into it? What was your moment that brought you into spirituality and how to hone in on it?
So when I was really young, I'm Afro-Latina. My dad is Black. My mom is Hispanic. So the area that we grew up in, there was like a lot of botamicas. There was like a lot of like a lot of Mexicans, and like Hispanics are kind of like Catholic. And when you look at a
Mhm.
lot of like the Catholic beliefs, there's also like the Santeria, which is like the back of they always say the back of the church, you know. Um, but when I was younger, I used to be basically around that a lot. And I was like thankful that I was able to learn a lot from like my great aunt and my great grandmother about that. Um, and just you got to see different things, you know, like, and a lot of people have like this weird thing where they think it's like you're worshiping the devil, or
Mhm.
you're, you know, like sacrificing babies and all these crazy things. And it's like, no, it's actually a lot of this stuff is based in, depending on what your practice is based in the Bible. Like I know hoodoo uses a lot of scriptures, you know, from books.
Mhm.
So like there's a lot of things that people didn't know about it. And when I was growing up, it was like I always wanted to get more engulfed in that. So I would see like my family do little things here and there. And then I was like, oh, I really like that. And then I would basically just keep trying to learn. And then I was able enough to meet um, my guru. And he was a santero, you know, so he had taught me a lot of things as well. He put me onto different books. He got me through like the initiation process. And it was just like awesome being able to see that, because I always felt like growing up, I wanted to learn everything. I would always call myself an communist. So I wanted to learn about hoodoo. I wanted to learn about Christianity. I wanted to learn about Buddhism. I wanted to learn about Islam. Like I wanted to learn so much. And then when you really cut it down, it's like, wow, everything is basically pretty much very similar in all of these things. The art of
Mhm.
detachment, the power of the mind, the, you know, even in the Bible, it talks about what you speak about comes about, basically, like your words have power. So all of these things kind of just, you start to see a pattern where it's like, okay, there has to be some truth in these things I keep hearing. So yeah, that's basically it. And then I just basically kept doing research, and I love to read. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, so that was pretty much it. It's like an hour long stories, like stories worth of that. So, but yeah, that's basically the premise.
Okay, period. I mean, I completely understand that because, and I understand it and understand it. I truly get it because when I was growing up, my my family is more Christian based. So when I got to Georgia is when everything changed for me. I think a lot spiritually because my mom had been with somebody that was a Muslim. So I went from Christianity to being a Muslim. And then I none of that fit for me. Like
Mm-hmm.
I understood it. I
Mm-hmm.
got some of the great points that were being said, but none of it resonated with my spirit. But when I got to Georgia, I met who I call my godmother. She's like a fairy godmother. She is a priestess and she's been in this religion for almost 30 years, something close to that. Yeah.
That's
So I learned a lot from her, which has helped me like on my path when I went through all these different things like losing my mom and my grandma, who were the two people that raised me growing up in the span of 2 years. I don't think that I would have been able to truly face that without her teachings through like Santeria and like being in touch with your ancestors, getting in touch with your roots, knowing that even though these people pass, you can still connect with them. And your, connection with them may be even stronger than it was when they were here in the physical, because when people pass, they are not the same as they were when they were
yeah,
here on the surface.
they get to see everything behind the scenes, and
Hmm.
you know, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for the passing though, but
That to me, I think a lot of people thought that I handled it pretty well. And for me, I felt like for you, of course, I have my moments where I'm like, like, oh, the physical, because we get so attached to the physical. But in my spirit, in my soul, in my being, my highest form of myself knows that
Yeah.
these people have never left me.
Yeah.
And I know they use me as an extension to continue to breathe and live and see life. And they push me to do things that break boundaries, break certain cycles, because they don't see that for their bloodline as they pass on. Something's different.
Yeah.
So I completely understand the conversation behind like learning these different religions. That's what I will give thanks to my mother for, because she never forced any religion on me. She let me study my own stuff. She
Mm-hmm.
never was like, you're going to learn this and this is going to be the way you believe. She was not like that.
Mm-hmm.
Even though she was more Christian based, my mom
Mm-hmm.
was not uh, a pusher. She didn't push me to believe the same thing she believed in. So I'm like really grateful for that, because I've been able to find myself through mostly Santeria.
Mm-hmm.
Like I feed my ancestors, I talk to my ancestors, and I think there's a big misconception on the ancestors being this evil thing. Like, you know, growing up, you hear, oh, you don't talk to, spirits because that's evil. But it's like, well, y'all talk to Jesus.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
spirit too, you
Yeah.
know?
Well, because I'm like, even with a lot of Catholics, it's
Mm-hmm.
hilarious because I'm like, you will, you'll pray to a whole bunch of saints, which,
Mm-hmm.
and you already know this, but those saints translate to the same thing in Santeria. Like these, they're connected to the same thing. So you're
Mm-hmm.
praying to certain saints to find things, or for money, or um, guidance, or love, or whatever, and you're praying for these things, but it's the same concept. So it is really disappointing. I think that it's really interesting, because I think that's the beautiful thing about traveling, is when you go to these other places, you get to see how common it is. Like in Thailand, they were leaving offerings for their ancestors. They were burning ancestral money. They like had food put out for them. Like they had
Mm-hmm.
things. And then when I went to China, Shanghai and Beijing, like you've seen that there too. You know what I'm saying? So you're seeing all these other places do it. And you go to India, like they're doing it, but then it shames in this form.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It sucks, because it's just, I feel like if people just gave it a chance, they could understand. Like when you're praying to your ancestors, it's like asking them to just watch over, like help me,
Mm-hmm.
guide, so that I could make better choices and learn from the mistakes that you all made, and
Mm-hmm.
loving form. So it sucks, because it's just like, oh, just give it a
Yeah.
chance.
Yeah,
Just give
but
it.
that's so spot on, because you hear a lot of people say like, "Oh, this is how you know that people don't really know their history. They don't know what they're talking about." I think
Mhm.
I want to say Hollywood has had a lot of effect on African culture, especially when it comes to religion.
Mhm.
They demonize the way that we talk to our ancestors and to spirit, and how we connect to source, which
Mhm.
is honestly the highest form of disrespect. But all is forgiven.
Yeah, right.
All is forgiven or whatever. But I like that a lot of the narrative is being shifted through social media, because it takes people like you and I and other people like us to show people that's not what this is. It's deeper than that. If you want to connect to source, you want to really get in contact with God, you have to go through those ancestors.
Yeah.
That's the direct lineage to source.
Yep.
When you do your prayers, you don't leave out your people that walked before you so that you can get here, you know,
Exactly.
that continue to watch over you, become your guides. Some of them become your guides
Yeah.
and really push you. And I think another thing was that I heard several people say before, like, oh, I'm praying to my ancestors, but they only pray to the one section of their ancestral roots.
Mhm.
And I don't believe in that. I think there are many ancestors that you have that may not even be the same tone as you, that are
Mhm.
fighting for your life to be
Yep.
different and
Yep.
pushing for your life to be different. And I think that's like a really beautiful thing because at the end of the day, we all come from one part of the planet. We just
Hmm.
expanded.
Yep. Yep.
So
And you
that's
could do
pretty
that with,
cool.
yeah, I'm like, well, and I love history, but I'm like, it
Hmm.
pretty much, and if you look at the scientific, when you think about, I'm going to sound silly. Is it Pangea? Isn't that the original?
Yes.
Yeah, that. Or if you look at the Bible and the Tower of, is it Babylon? Tower of,
Babylon?
I think it's basically, remember when they were all coming together to build a tower to go to the heavens?
Hmm.
God confused them and then they spread out and he started changing with their language. I'm like, so it's just interesting, even with that, with history and science and everything else. I'm like,
Hmm.
there's some kind of truth to these things. So yeah, like a lot of
Absolutely.
our answers look probably completely different than, well, especially being that, there's so many mixtures. We're such a melting pot anyway, living in America and everything. But like, your ancestors could be literally just about anywhere. You could have them in Asia, you could have them in Ethiopia, like just
That's
every.
me.
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna say, I was like,
See,
I
I
got
did
the vibe.
ancestry.
Let's
Yeah, I
start.
did ancestry. So like most of my DNA comes from Nigeria
Okay.
and it's around the Yoruba culture, which is basically another form of Santeria.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that that really like fell upon me.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand that that is just the ancestors' way of working their way into this bloodline and saying, listen, one of y'all has to take that.
Yep.
And it's gonna be you.
That's
Whether you know.
yep. I'm like,
And
but it's a big responsibility. But they're like,
yeah,
no, you got it. You got it.
right. They're like, we'll take care of you as long
Yeah.
as you do it. Yeah.
Yep.
So I never really stressed over anything. And then I found out that I'm also Irish, Scottish, you know, I
Mm-hmm.
have, bloodline that is related to Wales. So I'm like Welsh and, Portuguese, stuff like that. So I'm like, okay, so I'm getting, there's a bit of a blend here that's
Yep.
happening. I'm also Asian. Didn't, no clue. I'm
I
actually
can.
Chinese as far as
Uh,
they're concerned.
yeah. I mean, to say. I'm like, I feel like, honestly, I feel like I think a lot of like people that are like Africans, usually
Hmm.
I've heard that a lot of them have like Asian, like from Africa as well, like
Hmm.
Asian mixed in. But I'm like, it just kind of comes to show that, there's just so many mixtures. And then it's funny because even when you go to certain parts of Asia, you can see like they're like dark, like darker complexions, like, and they have like a lot of stereotypical Afro features. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So I'm like, there's so many mixtures that are there, and it's like it's just so crazy. It's interesting. That's why I think everybody should travel too, because I'm like, you just start to really see these key things that are connecting to different things.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, I have to ask because I've been watching and I've been looking. Girl, you can cook.
Oh,
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Because when I tell you my mouth waters every time I see you make a meal, I'm like, I cannot deal with this. It looks so good. Like anybody that's watching, once this is done, I'm telling you, go tap on her Instagram and just watch the cooking section because I'm gonna need you to start your own show on YouTube and I'm gonna follow every single recipe. It
this
looks
is
delicious. What made you like do that? You're like, I love cooking. I'm like, I know you do. Show me.
honestly, to to be honest, okay, my mom wasn't a cook. Like she did not
Mhm.
cook. And we kind of grew up just eating like cereal and not very healthy things, let's just say that. And then my grandma, she would cook. But I think it wasn't until I because I was married before. And I don't know, like I felt like during that time, it was like probably COVID, where I was like, I'm so bored. Like I need inspiration. And I'm a person, as you've seen on my page, I get like bored. I need to be doing like everything. I'm very multi faceted, or yeah, I'm guessing that's
Yeah,
the
that's the way to say it.
yeah. Okay. Yeah, and I just love the arts. I love anything that that's interesting, you know, like, and I feel like with cooking, that's a way to kind of express yourself through food. You get to make art through food, and then you get to share it with other people. And I like everybody that's seen me cook, like I'll be like all in their face, like while they're eating it, like, how is it? Is it good? Do you think you need to add, I need to add some more of this and this. But like, I just love to watch people eat my food. I love to like give, you know, and I love to explore flavors and tastes. And like, whenever I go someplace, try like, right now I love Ethiopian food. I always go to an Ethiopian restaurant in Dallas. It's so good. And it's called Desta, if anybody wants to go there. But no, it's just nice to just be able to explore in that way. So, and then my love language is acts of service. So like, that's kind of the biggest way that I show that I love a person, is like through feeding them. So, and I think that that's probably, I don't know if it's because my dad is Congolese. I don't know if it's that culture or if it's the Hispanic culture, but like a lot of those cultures, you see that the women love to feed like the people. So yeah, the family. So that for me is why I do it. I just love to watch people enjoy things that I've created. So, and I think that that's one of the quickest ways you could see if somebody genuinely likes it, because you can't change their first, you know, first face that they make as soon as they take a bite. So I'm really happy though. I'm happy it looks appetizing. I'd be trying to make sure that I get the right angles on it. So
and it looks divine. Okay. I will just tell you that it looks delicious. I know it has so many different flavors. And I'm trying to tell you, I'll be looking out for that YouTube channel cooking.
I'm gonna bring a plate. I'm gonna bring you a plate.
Okay, period. Because
I'm serious. I'm serious. I really will too.
And I really will eat the plate. I'll eat it. So I love that. And I peeped that you said your dad is Congolese.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we might be related. Ooh.
I mean, that would explain a lot, because if you look at a lot of the Congolese like religion and culture, like it's, you know what I'm saying? There's a lot of in there. So yeah, but I was actually very thankful to learn more about that side. Yeah, because I had an ex and he was from the Congo. And I remember he was the one that sparked my interest. I'm like, huh, like, and I started asking my grandparents about that. And then telling me the history of it. I was like, oh, I didn't know that. I mean, you could see, it's funny because you could also see the features too. Once you like find out what you are, and then you look at the people of that land, you could start to see features in your own face that look similar to the features there. So it's like you could see where that your nose comes from, your cheekbones, your chin, whatever. So it's awesome. It's really awesome. I guess I'm sorry, I'm talking all about culture.
No, I think it's beautiful. And that's one of the best things about this podcast is I love having women such as yourself come on, share information, because that is what is most important, is sharing the information. So before I let you go, I do want to ask you one final question, and it is, for you, what do you believe is the advice you would want to leave with anybody that's watching or listening about truly finding yourself through spirituality? How would you say the best way to start is?
What I tell a lot of my clients is you can't, and I'm trying to make sure I say this correctly, you can't grow and be comfortable at the same time. So a lot of the times you have to get out of your comfort zone. So whether that's kind of trying some new food, or going to like what I had started off with was going to temples too. Like when I actually left the United States, I went to temples. And of course, it's kind of hard to do that if you can't leave. But there's Buddhist temples down the street. There's Hindu temples, or Hindi temples not that far away either. So it's like more about kind of stepping your foot into these things. If you don't like to read very much, you should listen to podcasts about it and see if you feel a connection to that. If you do like to read, then obviously go look at some other books. But I think that the best way to start is by kind of putting yourself in a position to learn something outside of your comfort zone. So that for me is the biggest step for a lot of people. Like at least go to a temple, see how other people think and believe and what you connect with. Because you might not connect fully with everything in Buddhism, but you might get something, you know what I'm saying? Get a little bit of something from that. And then you get a little something from learning about hoodoo. Then you get a little something from Christianity, like all of these things. And then you kind of make it your own. That's the biggest thing about it's making it your own spiritual journey. So that's what I would,
Oh,
yeah.
that's so beautiful. I love that. That was so good. Well, thank you so much for taking the time out to have this conversation with me. It's beautiful. I know that this episode is going to touch a lot of people in different ways and even open up some minds to how they can expand their spirituality and begin walking in that step towards their highest self. And I really just appreciate you. I just love your face. I just
Oh,
love everything about you. I do. I do. I
you.
do.
Sorry, my girl, my anxiety, but this actually was amazing. I am so
Yes.
happy. I'm so
I
happy
would
that I met
I would
you.
love to have you back on too, like anytime.
Oh,
Anytime.
so
Thank you
much.
so much, Queen. I appreciate you
Thank
and
you.
sending you so much love. You are such a boss and your energy is immaculate, just like I remembered it. Nothing's changed. Nothing.
You.
I
I'll
might be
definitely
even
be
more
back
obsessed
soon.
than I was.